Welcome to the Weekly Social, folks. Everything Katy, Fulshear, Richmond, Texas. Today we have David Berenger with Model Mortgage. Thank you so much for coming out, David.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, Missy. Thank you for having me.
We also have the lovely Missy Yee with Redline Realty.
Hello.
We brought David back because we covered so much ground, but yet there was a lot of stuff that was still unanswered. Not that David did a bad job, he did a great job, but there's so much to convey. So thank you, David.
There's a lot of information in there.
Yes.
and there's news, and there's plenty new in the world since we last met about six weeks ago.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously.
So, okay, now David, I'm going to hijack the conversation from the beginning. Oh, wait, actually tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Oh, happy to. Yes, of course. So I'm David Berenger. I became a loan officer 5 years ago. It's my second career. I was in asset management, meaning mainly mutual funds and retirement plans for 25 years before that.
So well versed in senior type stuff.
Yes. Well, I'd say first, forced to have learned and to always have had a lot of respect for my clients' life stages, life planning, financial planning, and obviously mortgages relate to that and fit into that.
Oh, sure.
There's no organization, even a nonprofit, even a church, whose accountants do not look at both sides of the ledger, meaning income, assets, but also debt, right? So we have to do the same thing for our clients. I really believe that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do think it was it's a good background to have and a good experience to bring to my role as a loan officer.
Because you're familiar with finances, investing, and with basically what
retirement.
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 Financial
Yes.
as we age.
So that was my reference on seniors.
Most financial planning is the goal of most financial planning is retirement, is building up a retirement nest egg. Yes. Now, not only so, our younger clients will often have two intermediate goals. The first one being saving up for the down payment to buy a house, right? So maybe in their 20s, let's say they're focused on that.
Sure.
And then they buy that first home, and then they start a family, and they're into their 30s and 40s. And then the goal and the elephant on the horizon, right? Not the room, but on the horizon, is paying for college for their kids if they have kids, right? And so that becomes the second goal. But in the meantime, and every financial advisor is telling them, they have to, at the same time, begin saving and planning for their retirement.
Oh boy, so they have multiple buckets that they're trying to make sure are properly filled.
Yes, and of course, it's very hard to do that, especially in America, more so probably than anywhere else in the world, because we have such a consumer culture, right?
We love to buy.
We love to buy. We love credit. We're bombarded by offers of credits. We can
Consumerism. We consume.
Consumerism. Now, okay. It makes our economy stronger than many others. Some have argued it drives the world. The American consumer drives the world economy, and yet there's a price to pay. You can easily overdo it individually.
Oh, sure.
So,
absolutely.
How do we help people navigate between those goals and
you found a niche that I applaud you in your mortgage portfolio.
Well, yes, exactly. So, of course, with the interest rates environment being what it is currently, the last 2.5 years now, right?
And we've had some policy and administration changes.
And a special situation, let's say. Let me come back to that in a minute. So it's been harder to get traditional purchase business, right? Or refinances. There have been very few of those, right? And of course, competing lenders, including credit unions and savings banks with lower costs, let's say, or already some sort of existing financial relationships with their borrowers, right? So they know and trust them more, and so they can have a quicker, easier, lighter underwriting process. And so many potential borrowers never get referred to someone like me, unfortunately, right?
Right.
And they don't need to, which is fair enough. And so, but also, so looking to diversify my business, looking to capitalize on my own background, my own appearance, if I dare say. There are advantages to having white hair, to being a little bit more silver. Yes.
Snow on the rooftops, what I call it.
Right. Well, but I have no choice, I guess. I've gotten to that age. but I embrace it because there are advantages.
Yes.
Right? There are advantages to obviously not be a kid just looking to make a commission. There is that benefit in that someone with my background and the ability to listen and get to know people and families, right? The whole family situation. And I think it was I worked in an office once where there was the sign on the wall, right? And apparently there's a quote from President Roosevelt, back in the 1940s, saying, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care."
Exactly.
Oh, that's a good one.
And there's
I didn't realize it came from him, but I've heard
Yeah.
that multiple times in my life.
whether he first came up with it or whether it was quoted from who knows? But it's a timeless truth. You do not gain you do not get people's business without gaining their trust, right? So
especially when there's so much money involved and their retirement.
Yes.
And,
Well, there's more money involved. There's the inability of these people, for the most part, to go out and earn that money all over again if they lose it or if it gets stolen from them. And then often they're the children or grandchildren or siblings, right? Or sometimes even the parents themselves, even older, right? But still, you never stop being a parent, right? no matter how old your kids are, right? So
I have cats. I don't know, but my mom still babies me, so yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
At 50.
Right? Well, my 85-year-old mom still thinks that she knows better than I do. You know? And
it's a different world today,
right? Well,
it is.
And she might.
Yeah, she might. On a few things, she might. On a few
Missy's
things,
going team mom.
Yes, I know.
right? On a few things, she does not. Okay.
Right.
Well, I'm a dad, right? I
Yeah.
have teenagers and a daughter in her 20s, and I believe I still know a lot more about the world, even the online virtual world that my kids live in, than they do, or more about the dangers that they may be exposing themselves into, like the dark web or what have you. Of course, they don't believe it. Of course, they don't think so.
No, but if I said something to them about it, they would take it totally different.
Right.
Even though it's the same exact stuff.
Right. But to get back to what you were asking about, Richard, so yes, absolutely. So my niche or my focus is on helping seniors. Yeah. And of course, on taking them seriously and on understanding. And I really believe any good realtor, any title company, anyone in our supporting professions these days needs to understand we've got a huge and very active senior generation, or arguably two generations, arguably baby boomers for the most part. Not so much the silent generation, the pre-baby boomers anymore, because those people who are still with us are in their 80s now, so their homeownership career, but which in my humble opinion can last 60 years or longer, in their cases it's mostly done. The baby boomers are in year 45 out of that 60 or 65 because they're living longer than any generation before them. They have more money than any generation before them. And now my Gen X, some of us are moving into those retirement years, or even if we're not retired yet, into those downsizing or right-sizing phase.
We're Gen X, Missy and I.
Very
So
much
am I. So am I.
Richard's 52. I'm 50.
I'm 57.
You're Gen X.
I was born in 1968.
Joyce, how about you?
Older than all of y'all.
No way.
I can't believe it.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't think so.
Built in 69. Built in 69. See, that's how we think. Like real estate. I was built in 69.
I was born in 1968.
So he's a year older than you.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's one of the facts I can never change. Right?
It is what it is.
Oh, hey,
Well,
there
when
were
were
many
you built?
advantages.
Ask my aunt that. My aunt has changed.
Let's ask everybody out there. When were you built?
Yes. Comment below.
Comment below. When were you built?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
exactly. Yeah, or it's what vintage are you?
Right?
Vintage, you know. Yeah, I mean, 1968 was a year of rebellion and turmoil in the world. It feels oddly familiar, right? My dad reminded me of that. He said, "You were born a week before students started revolting. Student revolutions began around the world. That's a symbol. That's a sign of something.
Yeah.
That's a sign that you're going to be involved in some sort of, maybe not revolution, but some sort of protest movement. You're going to be a dissident of some sort against some sort of political regime." Okay, so I guess, okay, so maybe this is a good moment to say something about the Trump administration and what the impact of this administration's current thinking, but also, let's just say, the personality of our president what sort of impact is it having on interest rates and on the market?
Sure.
Right? So, and this is, I don't think what I'm about to say is dissonance. I think it's just.
As long as it's non-political.
It's not political. It's not political. It's an observation.
We're not a
It's,
political show, guys.
the whole world is trying to understand. Well, trying to predict what Trump is going to say or do tomorrow is a fool's errand, right? It's impossible.
Good luck.
I do tend to, whether I like the man or not personally, but he's right in the sense of saying, taking a step back and saying, hey, you know, whether it's the USA's role in the world, whether it's the way our economy works and this or that, maybe not everything that's become the tradition or established precedent in the post-World War II era, meaning more than 75 years now, is the way it should always remain. Maybe some things do need to change. And so the institution that he's taking aim at these days clearly is the Federal Reserve. And for a simple reason. He wants interest
Jerome
rates.
Powell.
Yes,
Jerome
Jerome Powell, the man who Trump wants to get rid of, but can't, right? He has the power to fire a lot of people.
The Federal
But not
Reserve,
Jerome Powell.
that's a private entity.
It's a private entity.
Everybody thinks the Federal Reserve is part of the federal government. It is not.
It is not. It is not. It's actually a private entity owned by leading American banks.
It's a banking cartel.
Right. It's a banking cartel. People have speculated or suggested that it's secretly owned by the Rockefellers and other families.
Read The Creature from Jekyll Island, and I'll just leave that there.
Have you read that book?
No,
The
actually, I
Creature from
haven't.
Jekyll Island? Yeah.
I don't know exactly who the Fed belongs to. I don't think that's really the point, to be very honest. I think the point is we've had the Fed, right, as America's monetary policy institution since 1913, so 112 years, and it's been officially independent from the other branches of government since 1951. And there was actually an act of Congress of which I don't remember the exact name, but that enshrined that, if you will, that made that established that it was no longer just tradition or precedent that you know can easily be done away with, but actual law, right? So the president is in the Federal Reserve is not under the authority of the president, Congress, or the Supreme Court or anyone else, right? They're not.
They control a lot of our monetary policies through interest rates.
Mostly through interest rates. Not only interest rates, they have many other tools that are a lot more obscure that the public doesn't know or care to know about, like
the printing of money.
The printing of money, of course. Well, but that's right. But they can also more indirectly, you know, apply a lighter touch by requiring banks to hold more reserves. Let's say change the reserve requirements for banks, right? And now they're trying to catch up with regulating all the crypto, right, and fintechs, right, and other regulators too. Well, that's where it gets more interesting. But here's what's so. Going back more than 7 decades now, we've had that precedent and that well-established tradition of the Federal Reserve being independent of the other branches of government, and even disagreements between presidents and the Fed chairperson are nothing new. That probably goes back to at least the 1960s or 70s, right?
Sure.
Here's what's unprecedented. Here's what's happening now. Trump, having recognized that he can't legally fire Jerome Powell, he's asked him to leave. Powell said, "Hell no, I won't go." he intends to stay. Trump only has the power to replace him and not renominate him, which is made very clear. He's not going to renominate him when Jerome Powell's term expires in May 2026. So still almost a year to go. So, barring an accident, you know, or health problems, Jerome Powell, who's a 72-year-old multimillionaire, who probably has no political ambitions beyond finishing his term as Fed chairman, isn't going. So Trump, being frustrated by that, has decided, hey, I'm going to nominate his replacement in advance, and I'm going to create a sort of Fed shadow chairman of the Fed, right, who would be, given that financial markets look forward, and they're much more interested in the next interest rate move than the last one, right, that would become the person who would unofficially, not even appointed or confirmed yet, would, in a sense, gain more power than Jerome Powell if the markets are confident.
Just bringing them in through the outdoors, what I would call that.
Right. If
one's going out, the other one's coming in.
Yes, exactly. But if the next one if it becomes a waiting game until Powell has to leave in about 10 months from now, and what that new person has stated he or she, but probably he, right, is going to do.
Wall Street and everybody, Main Street's going to hedge their bet
Right.
on what's coming
Right.
forward.
People are going to start. people are going to start expecting, right, and betting through all sorts of financial instruments, swaps, derivatives, even rate buy downs, even mortgage rate buy downs, right? That the rates are going to be at least a full point or two lower starting in May or June of next year, right? So
But
that's
every
a
time
year.
the Fed's lowered points or interest rates lately, it's had zero effect in our market for mortgages. And a lot of people think that just because the Fed's lowered the rates, that mortgage
Right.
rates are going to go down. That's
No.
a misnomer.
That is a very popular misconception. Well, people don't. The typical consumer who's not in this field, right? Our client whose field is medical or engineering, or they're smart people, they're educated people, but it's just not their domain.
You don't
It's
know
not
what you
their
don't know.
expertise.
They don't
It's not
want
their
they,
expertise,
right.
yeah.
They don't necessarily want to understand the minutia, but you're absolutely right.
The 10-year treasury.
Yes, the 10-year treasury. But what's really happening is lenders have their own autonomy. They don't work for the government. They
It's
either
private business.
it's private business. They either make loans that people can afford to repay, right, and that they're going to stay in long enough.
Well, they're investors is what
Yes, they're investors,
investing in
and
the-
they resell they're investors themselves, and they resell the loans that they make to other investors. And so there's going to be no demand for those from those other investors. A lender who can't a non-bank lender who can't resell the loans that they originate.
Yeah, there's a
that they
primary and a
manufacture.
secondary
Yes.
market. Most people don't understand that either.
Correct. So a lender, no matter how large, that can't resell the loans that they manufacture pretty quickly is soon out of business.
Right.
Because that's how they replenish their
Because
funds.
they're capital.
Yes, that's how they get their capital.
Access to capital.
Now they can have lines of credit from a hedge fund, let's say. They can borrow money from other sources, short term, but not for long.
Right.
Right? So this is why, so these lenders, also because of the uncertainty, right? So the unpredictability of our president and of this administration, right? When it comes to tariffs, when it comes to domestic policy in different ways, right? So there's an unprecedented attack on the Fed chairperson, right, by the president, let's say. I think that's fair to say, at least compared to the post-World War II era, right? And there's perhaps not unprecedented, but extremely high uncertainty that is also keeping interest rates higher. Anticipated.
But it also
and
creates
interest-
opportunity if you zoom out and look at the whole picture for people.
Sure.
Because you can buy at or below market value right now, folks.
Well,
Yes.
you can. That's absolutely right. So both of us surely have had multiple conversations over the last few years with buyers, and not just first-time home buyers, but any buyers saying, okay, yes, you're going to have to suck it up and make a slightly higher mortgage payment probably for the next couple of years, right? But you're going to buy at a better price, right?
Yes.
If the rates do go back down to 3 or 4%, millions more buyers are going to be back in the market.
Prices are going to
Yeah,
escalate.
exactly.
But you know, Richard and I were talking actually
Yeah.
this morning about renters, and essentially, if you're an adult, you either own your home or you're renting for the most part.
Right.
And
But you're still paying a
Right,
mortgage.
right.
Yours or
Well,
somebody
no,
else's.
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
renting, you're paying 100% interest.
That's correct.
You are.
If you're a
You build
homeowner,
zero equity.
yeah, if you're a homeowner, you get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage in the next 30, 60, 90 days. You're paying maybe about 6.5%, 7% interest, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
let's say 7%. You're still 93% better.
If you're
Yes,
paying
yes.
rent, you are paying 100% interest every single month.
Right.
You're paying $2,000, $2,500 in interest every
You're burning
single
money.
month.
And you are, well, you're not only burning money, but you are enriching a landlord,
Yes.
right? And I've been that landlord on a small scale, maybe others here too.
So have I.
Yes, exactly. So we love having renters.
You're paying my
Pay,
mortgage.
pay off my mortgage and build up my net worth,
Yes.
right? And pay off my asset that later on I can sell,
Yes.
And
right?
you got a little spending
And
money every
and
month.
fill up my it's going to be part of my retirement
Your
nest
retirement
egg.
bucket, yeah.
But not his, not that renter's.
No.
Right.
Renters don't build wealth. That's
They
pretty
build
much
wealth for
established.
other people, but not for
Yes,
themselves.
not for themselves,
Yeah.
exactly. So actually, so I've given this presentation to potential home buyers, and so everyone says the media are having a field day this year, for the last year or two, saying young people can't buy houses. It's a
Yes, they
tragedy.
can.
Yes, they not only yes they can, unless they're really completely disorganized financially. But yes, they can. But and then their parents, right? Their baby boomer parents who bought their first house perhaps in 1981 with 14% interest,
Up
right?
to 18%.
Or up to 18%, exactly. So we'll keep that in perspective. Home prices were much lower then, right? But that's part of the silver lining of it too, is that today, so they bit the bullet, they bought anyway, then they refinanced, they moved, etc. They rolled over the equity that they earned. But now those homes that they bought, right, are worth so much more today
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
they've made a lot more money. So here's what I put in my home buyer presentations is we can get you from here to here, okay, from here to there.
Oh.
Okay, now where's here? Well, this is a caricature, right? This is an approximation of my daughter's college dorm room, right? Or it could be,
Yeah.
it could be two
They're very tiny, by the way.
could be two young wannabe actresses in a tiny studio in Los Angeles, right? Where the rents are astronomical, and so. These girls today are probably going to a landscape, you know, like here, you know, this could be a nice neighborhood in Katy, or this could be my community, right? Over on this side, this is not my actual house, right? For privacy reasons, I don't do that, but I do live in a community that looks like this.
Yeah.
And I've never won the lottery. I've never received a large inheritance. So how did I do it? Okay, and so why do I believe it still makes sense, right? Because someone who rents, right, and never buys, they understand that at some level they're not building wealth. They're building wealth for someone else. They're leaving money on the table. What they don't understand is how much. Okay, so I don't necessarily expect viewers to be able to read the numbers here, but this
Give
is
us a quick overview.
But this is the math that I've done, right? I'm a bit of a math nerd, right? So yes, so what I'm trying to illustrate here is that you
Mortgage
start.
nerds.
Yes,
We're
you
real estate
start-
nerds.
Well, real estate. There's a lot of math involved. There's a lot of legalese. There's psychology.
You have to know the numbers.
You have to know the numbers, but you have to. We have to, especially for the and not just our first-time home buyers, but even our older buyers who are sellers and buyers, ideally, in their later stages of life, right? We need to understand what is happening in their lives. What is the psychology behind the move that they're going to make or not? Okay. But what I calculated here is basically, so someone's starting out. Let's say you start out, you buy that first home when you're about 32, right? Kind of an average age of where people get married or have children for the first time, okay? And then buy that starter home, and here in the Houston area at least, not in California, not New York, okay, but
Yeah, our local market.
in our markets.
A little different.
In our market,
Yeah.
you can still get into that starter home costing, say, $250,000 with only about $10,000 down, right? Using an FHA or conventional loan.
Grant money, down payment assistance. There's
Down
there's a
payment-
plethora of stuff.
Yes.
These are all programs
Even-
your lender would
right.
be able to
Yes,
help
absolutely.
identify for you.
1% down payment assistance, right?
Or VA if you're a veteran.
If you're a veteran, exactly, but even for the non-veterans, right? As long as your credit is not awful, right? You don't have to scrimp and save for 3 years. You don't have to go to the bank of mom and dad. You talk to me or my colleagues, we'll find you down payment assistance. We'll find you a program, right? But more importantly, right? So $10,000 invested the first time, okay? You buy that starter home and then you live in it for 5 or 6 years. And then your family's growing or your income increases as your career takes off, hopefully. And so you sell that home, right? You've earned, now, and then you move up. You sell a $250,000 home, you move up, and let's say you buy a $450,000 home, right? When you're in your mid-30s or closer to 40. Okay, you might have paid off, you might have paid down only a little bit of your mortgage balance, right? You might be unlocking only about $20,000 worth of equity, but you've paid. But if the market has done its magic and your home price is appreciated, even at a conservative rate, you very likely have 80 to 90,000 of equity gains on that starter home,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You bought that starter home for $250, you're reselling it for $325 or $350 easily, okay? And then that's your down payment, right? You put $100,000 down on your move up, on your next house in a move up neighborhood, right? Or in a solidly middle class neighborhood, okay? Let's just say, all right? Now, and then about 7, 8 years later, you know, maybe you move up one more time, right? When your kids are going to go to high school, so into one of the better school districts, right?
These are all like life changes that are happening.
This
It's a
is
cycle of life.
Yeah.
this would be the first 30 years or so. I mean, it's not the entire real estate career or journey that many of us will take, but let's say it's fairly typical. So starter home, move up again, right? In your mid 40s, let's say, and then consider downsizing or go ahead and downsize or right size at 55 or 60 or beyond, right? So anyway, so each time you're rolling over, you know, your equity and cashing in equity gains, And if you do this right, not even getting
And
the
that's
best mortgage
tax-free
rates.
money that you make.
Yes, tax-free money that you make.
250 single, 500,000 married.
Absolutely correct. Yes. So you have to be. You basically have to. You have to have done really well to have to worry about capital gains taxes.
Yeah.
Federal, right? And in Texas, we don't have the state income tax, of course. So even better, right? So some states will try to grab a chunk of that, but not here.
Not here in Texas.
Not here, exactly. So yet another reason to move to Texas, and why I'm so happy I did. No, but seriously, I amuse myself in our neighborhood sometimes, putting up a picture of a $500,000 house around here, let's say in Katy, right, or in Woodlands, versus a house costing the same in New Jersey or on Long Island.
Oh my
in
goodness!
New York.
And that's the area that you moved from.
Yes.
Is it
Well,
East
not
Coast?
directly. Yes, East Coast. Yes. It's not the same.
It's not a desirable neighborhood.
Even what's considered a good neighborhood. You're talking about only being able to afford a much smaller, much older house with a lot of problems. Some even don't have garages. Some don't have central air, right?
Oh, wow.
And it's hard.
Oh my
to
gosh.
It's a whole different quality of life that we have here. Quite seriously, but how much? Okay, so how much equity? If I've done this, let's say, starting at 32 and until I'm 65, how much equity do I potentially have to cash out? Even supposing I didn't get the best mortgage interest rates, even supposing I didn't live in the neighborhoods that took off all the variables,
Right.
I'm probably ending up at about $950,000.
Wow.
So
And that's
just
just-
over $1 million.
That's just making your mortgage payments. That's not
That's
about
just making
paying,
mortgage payments.
making multiple additional
Yes.
payments or anything
That's-
like that.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's not even paying down a mortgage aggressively. That's just from equity. Let's say if I decide to sell my house that I paid for my move up neighborhood today, or in 5 or 10 years, let's say when I'm ready to downsize, this is how much I can probably walk away with in real life. And again, I'm not,
Well, I
Conservative
think one of the
number.
fears that we
But
have
that's
heard-
eye-opening. So if you're watching this and you're renting, the quicker you reach out to one of us, the quicker we can get you on the exact
Right.
same path.
right. That's right.
because David, you were talking about 10,000 down with some of these
Right,
assistance type
right.
programs, and if the average rent in the Houston area is about $2,500 a month, I think $2,500 a month. That's
Let's
that's 4 months rent
yes.
for a down payment.
But over 30 years. So
Yeah.
actually, even thinking a little smaller than that, let's say $2,000 a month in rent.
Yeah.
If I pay to
We're
whoever,
not running much to that 2,000, by the way.
no, okay, but let's suppose, okay, so let's suppose that $2,000 a month for 30 years, okay, and let's even supposing that doesn't increase, which of course it will.
It will.
But in today's
Every
dollars,
time you sign a lease, it will go up. I'm sorry.
that's 360 months. That's the same duration as a 30-year mortgage, right? 2,000 times 360 is $720,000.
Oh my gosh.
Almost 3/4 of a
In
million.
interest.
In 100% interest.
100%
That is
interest.
100% interest you pay.
100% out of your pocket. You're
It's interest to you, but equity for the
Right.
for the homeowner.
that's your
For the landlord.
outflow. Your equity balance on the plus side of your ledger, right? The financial ledger that all of us have, whether we think that way or not, is zero.
That's eye-opening. So
Zero.
that's $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Assuming
And that's
your
being conservative.
that's
Oh, yeah,
assuming
over
your
30
rent does
years.
not
Yeah.
go up at all over a 30-year period.
Which
You're
is not
spending $750,000 in interest that you're paying over 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's. I mean, so this is the risk. I mean, so you think to whoever to the potential first-time buyers or even new buyers, who've owned a home before, maybe who've gone through a divorce or a layoff, or they're just kind of re-examining their options and everything. They think they can't afford to buy again. You can't afford not to.
Yes.
Right. If you don't buy now, when are you going to buy?
Right.
I advise people, look, even if we can't get you in the SFR, single family residence that you truly want, let's get you started with the condo. Let's start somewhere. Townhouse.
Just so you're
Right.
not continuing
Build
to pay
Yes.
rent.
equity.
Yeah.
Right.
and
And
control costs.
right. And those townhouses or those single family homes that even if they're not in the best neighborhood are very easy to convert into an investment property.
There
Exactly.
you
And
go.
you're the landlord.
There you go.
So then, right, and I've done this, again, not on a huge scale, right, but you become the landlord, so someone else is helping you, you still own that other asset, someone else is helping you to build wealth, and at the same time you continue, right, so now, the slight caveat is you can't sell, you can't unlock your equity in that asset if you retain it, right? Well, let's suppose you don't need to. You got a bonus, right? You inherited, perhaps, right, or what have you. Well, you got married.
Negotiated a good
Your
deal.
spouse
Yeah.
brings, you know, some savings. What have you? Negotiated a good deal. You get seller concessions,
Mhm.
right? Good. Again, that silver lining of the higher rates and uncertain times. Good time to buy.
Grant money, down payment assistance.
Grant-
You can use it more than once.
You can indeed. Or
Find a
different
lender,
program.
talk to David
Right.
about a mortgage. He'll be able to tell you all the programs that are
Yes,
available.
get in or get back in, and don't delay. It's not.
Now you're building twice as fast.
The
because you
worst-
have two assets
Yeah,
going.
and
Yes.
worst case scenario would be that they cannot get finance at this moment, but you'll be able to get them on the right track so
Yes,
that
of
they
course.
can in the future. Yeah.
At almost any time. I mean, certainly now I have a call back to make to a lady in that scenario right now today.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not sure exactly what life accident may have happened. You know, like bad credit collections. I think she lost a job. Life happens, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It
Life
is a cycle of
happens.
life.
Some people do fall on hard times. You know, their credit isn't so good as a result, or you know, but it can be fixed. Not overnight, but that can be fixed.
Mhm.
You know,
It's the financial diet's what I call it.
financial diets,
It takes time.
but it takes time and it takes a certain self-discipline.
Oh,
Agreed.
I hear thunder.
Yes.
Yes, I know. I love rain.
Is that
Water the yard,
I
fill
know.
the pool.
right? Well, so you know, but yes, those who have the discipline, and so maybe a very quick note: people are being asked about refinances, so everyone might be assuming that very few refinances are happening these days.
I've
Well,
already seen some.
I am too.
Yeah.
Or even though I haven't participated in many recently, the president and CEO of UWM, which is now the largest non-bank mortgage company in America, Matt Ishbia, a person well worth listening to for anyone who has any interest in what's happening here in the economy and just in where all this is going.
In real
He
time.
says more refinance applications are up, and one of the reasons is, well, a few, but people have equity gains despite the higher interest
They're
rates.
unlocking
Oh,
that.
yeah.
They want to unlock that equity. They want to monetize that equity, and all too often, they're wanting to pay off higher cost consumer debt that they have.
Yeah.
I mean, if people think 6% for a mortgage is bad.
Look at your credit card.
Yes, yes. APRs on credit cards can be 29%.
Yeah.
So say 25 to 30% is what I see.
Typical auto lease.
Even with great
Well,
credit.
something,
Yes.
something Richard and I have seen also,
Yeah.
though, in this area locally, is we do have homeowners who bought in 2021 when interest rates were super low, but a ton of offers on properties, right? A ton of offers.
Right.
And so a lot of people paid more than the list
Right.
price.
Yes.
And
30
so-
to 50,000 over
Right.
market
And so
value.
they're thinking, there's no way my house has appreciated in 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, because I paid 50,000 over what it was
Well-
even listed for. But what we're finding in our CMAs, they are actually coming in higher. They've got equity in these
They do.
homes.
They do. Many
They
do.
do.
Many do. Now, one could argue. I could make an argument that we're actually what's having the biggest impact on the real estate market now, right? This year and the last couple of years is actually not even the uncertainty, the higher rates we have currently, but the abnormally low rates that we had for a couple of years
Yes.
in the
Around
past.
2021,
Yeah,
22.
late
They're rate
2020.
locked mentally.
Yes, exactly. Millions of homeowners across America are rate locked, you know, are thinking, well, I can't afford to give up that 3% rate,
Then
or I just
keep it.
don't want to. Right, keep it. Well,
Keep it.
But the challenge,
As an investment property.
sure,
Yes.
exactly. All the more reason to do that. Yes, definitely. But many people who, well, for whatever reason, they would like to move, but they feel like they're locked in place. Their home no longer fits them, but they feel rightly or wrongly that they can't afford to buy again. Supposing they would need financing again, they feel that they can't. So many houses are now remaining owner occupied with the same owners
Right.
who would like to move. Right.
And what we would tell you is honestly, I know Zillow is out there and people look on Zillow for estimates. When we're doing our CMAs, we are pulling specific data,
Deep dive.
into the market analysis and the properties that have sold in that area, and we do a very, very deep dive, and we're able to tell you how much your house actually what the market will support. It's not about
What we think the market-
yeah, it's not what we think the house is worth. It's what we believe the market is
Is
going to
willing to
support.
pay.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's.
But it's all math.
Yeah,
Right.
it's all math. It's
It's-
nothing
it's-
personal. It
Nope.
is all math.
There's nothing. Well, so homeowners tend to have a lot of their pride.
Emotional.
They have an emotional.
Sure.
There's an emotional element, right, to what you think your house is worth, and you're not going to accept a penny less. Problem is, there's no set market value.
No.
Right. So a diamond.
Even
Right.
an appraisal.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's an
Not-
opinion of
It's an
value
opinion of
from a
value.
licensed appraiser.
100% correct. So there are commodities for which there's a global market. A barrel of oil might cost $75 today on the global market. I'm guesstimating, but 1 carat diamonds meeting certain purity standards might be worth $2,000, right, or $3,000 or whatever it is. It's a global market. There's no real estate is local.
Yes.
It is.
Always.
It is
right?
so cool. I mean, it is
Always.
like you can't even do Katy. It has to be neighborhood by neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And
And you can't even go, well, my neighbor's house across the street sold for X amount.
Yeah.
Mine's worth more than his, but his house is 1,500 square feet bigger. It has a pool.
and it didn't flood during harvest.
Right.
It's been fully renovated. I got
Right.
1970 shag carpet here. I mean,
I know.
Well,
I know.
But there's that. But even out of those who have this we're overestimating, let's say,
Yeah.
what they're
aspirational is what I call that.
Right, they have
Generous.
aspirational. Yes, in my neighborhood there are a few. So it's that time of year, right, when listings, jump.
Test the market's what they say.
I really believe there are a few. I don't know them personally well enough to be sure, but I really believe that
It really
a
hurts
few
you.
people in my neighborhood, yes, are testing the market. Are not really wanting
Well,
or needing to sell.
It not only hurts them personally, but it impacts their neighbors because they're burning days on market. It's additional inventory out there.
And it can be a lot of wasted time for the realtor involved,
It
right?
is.
If that
Exactly.
seller is not serious about selling.
And that's something that we see with a lot of newer agents, so is that they're so hungry for a listing that they will allow the seller to dictate the price of the property. But it just ends up hurting everybody,
It does.
including the
It does.
agent, because they waste their time and money on marketing a property that
Well, but here's
they're,
what,
they're,
right.
they don't get any commission on.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's where that leaves us is that more than ever, I believe it makes sense for all of us because let's face it, all of us, including our hosts here at the title company, make
High
money.
choice.
We make money when a transaction happens,
Right.
and never without, right?
Right. Well, typically, on average, it's 40 families that are affected. There's 40 families that are involved in every transaction. As
Something
far
like
as
that,
yeah,
yes.
once you run through the whole
The
transaction.
appraiser, the inspector, the
Contractors,
Contractor,
Home Depot,
100%.
Walmart.
Pick something.
Yeah.
Our kids
Absolutely.
working at the local
Absolutely.
grocery store,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Everything.
Nobody wants to start or pretend to have the transaction that isn't really going to close, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, but that leads me back to believing, at least personally, that more than ever, we need to focus on the people, on the transactions that are going to happen,
Yeah.
right? Regardless of where interest rates are at, simply because life has happened. Or as our broker, Scott Schwann, has said recently, the people who, some of the agents, right, we're closely with, have approached maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, noting, that they've reached a certain age, that they have a certain amount of home equity, that they're maybe living in a two-story home that might not make sense for them anymore if their youngest child has graduated from the local high school, right? So they might not have been ready. They might, I don't need to move. I'm happy where I am. I like this neighborhood. Well, but life, the way you put it was, life's had that conversation with them.
Mhm.
And what that means, so a financial setback, a forced early retirement, a divorce, health problems. Health problems come, people's health, our health or our financial situations, etc., don't tend to degrade, to diminish gradually. Health especially, unfortunately, that I'm not in that scenario, that situation yet, but I've seen it with plenty of people who are really up there in age, health deteriorates suddenly, right? Someone has a stroke and suddenly can't negotiate stairs anymore.
Especially as you get older.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're a kid, you bounce back, right? You break a bone, you bounce back.
Right.
You get older, you do not want to
It's
fall.
been done by-
No.
A health setback happens. Life happens in the form of the children, and the grandchildren moving to a different neighborhood or even a different state because one of them has had a job transfer, let's say, and the grandparents even if they like they're living here in Katy, if they want to stay involved in their grandchildren's lives and they understand they have a window of X years to do so, right? Well, they're going to want to follow.
Yeah.
So those seniors, and I can conclude with this, right? Those seniors are being approached, right? So after those typical 3 transactions, right? Start at home, moving up again, and then downsizing, or I prefer to say right sizing, but it seems as if too many realtors and mortgage professionals and all those too many people see those seniors, right? Quote unquote senior 50 plus only as candidates for downsizing, for
what
listings.
What did you say for seniors? What age?
Huh?
You said 50 plus.
Well,
I'm right.
I'm painting myself with the same brush if I say that, right?
No, but you're very true.
I get those postcards, right?
Yeah.
From realtors, targeting my neighborhood and saying basically not being that creative, right? They clearly know nothing about the situation that I'm in. Now, I'm in a little bit of an atypical situation. I probably said this last time too. Right, I'm over 50, but I still have teenage children, still in high school. Okay. And we're in Texas, people get married younger, right? Stuff many of it would be very plausible to think of me as a candidate for downsizing.
That's just Texas, I'm kidding.
Well, ageist, maybe. I live in a 2-story house.
Yeah.
I'll admit I don't use all my square footage every day, but I don't want to move. But the realtors who target my neighborhood, right, not just my house, of course, thinking that I can't blame them. They're trying to generate business the same as we are, but they're not necessarily targeting me as a buyer, right? They're thinking, okay, these people here, this is a neighborhood with a lot of homes of a certain size and there's a certain amount of equity. And
they're addressing a symptom, not the problem, is what you're saying.
Well, no, they're addressing a potential problem. They're looking for sellers. They're looking for listings.
Yeah,
right, they're not necessarily thinking as much about how those sellers are also going to be buyers, right? Even if they are downsizing,
they gotta go somewhere.
even if they are moving.
Yeah.
Most homeowners still become renters. Most
No,
homeowners
no.
still become another homeowner.
Homeowner,
None of
right.
us want to go back to renting, do we?
No.
Once you become a homeowner, going back to
Correct.
renting, oof.
It's
No way.
typically a forced
No way.
situation, not a choice.
Exactly,
Yeah.
very much so, very much so. So they're not thinking. I really believe a lot of people in our associated professions are not thinking enough about how those seniors, whatever cutoff age you want to use, are going to be buyers and then maybe buyers and then sellers again. And
Yeah.
the seniors are active. No
Yes,
later
they
than
are.
yesterday, I visited an open house, and this couple to talk to the agent who I know, the listing agent who was there hosting. But this couple came in, and it's hard and risky to judge, but I would think they were probably in the mid to late 60s, and they were considering this house to be close to their grandchildren. They mentioned owning a house in Galveston that they may have retired to previously, and that they still also have an apartment in Houston. Right, so you would think they're set. They have no need to make any further changes in their lives, right, until their health, or until one of them passes away. And yet they're in the market. And they were there, they were interested enough and having a serious conversation enough with that agent, who's herself a certain age and understanding, she better, take them seriously.
Yes.
As much as any younger couple walking in, very much so, to the point where I had to politely excuse myself and leave and let her work. Right, even though I was very interested in hearing their they were sharing their kind of story and kind of maybe kind of probing for, can you give me any advice? Is this a good neighborhood for us to live in as we'll get older, right? So consider those 55 and better. Take us seriously. We're not done yet.
Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in this week. One quick snippet. This is our 100th episode today, so thank you so much for being a part of it, guys.
Thank you.
And we do have an event coming up, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, here back at Select Title. We're doing the 5 forms every FSBO needs to know, and it's
For sale by owners.
For sale by owners. So all we're doing, Richard and I are going to go over 5 of the most boring documents you will ever need for your real estate transaction. It's just for us to give back to the community. Pretty sure we'll have donuts and coffee.
So sign up.
Yes, we'll have the sign-up link in the comments.
And a shout out to Estrada Elite Enterprises LLC. They said great job.
Appreciate you tuning in, my friend.
And thank you.
And also Jake. Jake, shout out to Jake. He was visiting us today.
And thank you, Joyce, for working behind the cameras.
Yes.
Joyce Eisenberg.
Sometimes I like to be behind the scenes.
Joyce Eisenberg with select title.
I know we ran really long today, guys, but it was very informative. So if you tune in,
Yes, it was.
really watch the whole thing. This was a lot of really good information because when's the best time to buy a house?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
David, your phone number real quick before we go.
346-332-4580.
David Berenger with Modern Mortgage. Thank
All right,
you.
thanks, guys. See you next week.